Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Idioms Through Stories series from Learn English Road. This is part 9, and today's episode is extra special. We have a brand new story filled with 66 real English idioms, all used naturally in context. In this series, you don't just memorize idioms, you feel them through characters, emotions, and real-life situations. Listening to idioms inside a meaningful story helps you remember them more easily and use them more confidently. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's story. Let the idioms come alive through every moment, every challenge, and every conversation. Let's begin. Between Pride and Love. Part 1. Cracks in the Foundation. The morning sun slipped through the thin curtains of John's small house. His alarm rang, and his mother's familiar voice echoed from the kitchen. "Rise and shine!" But for John, mornings had stopped feeling bright. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. Life had been hard since his father lost his job. Money was tight, bills piled up, and the once joyful home now felt like a battlefield. His younger sister Emily tried to lighten the mood. "Come on, John, let's let your hair down for a while," she said, suggesting they go out to the park. But John snapped, "Fun doesn't pay the bills, Emily." At breakfast, their father, Richard, slammed the newspaper down. "This government. They talk a big game, but when it comes to helping families, it's all bark and no bite." The silence that followed was heavy. His mother tried to keep the peace, but inside, resentment was growing. Later that week, John overheard his parents arguing. His mother accused Richard of wasting money on a car that constantly broke down. "You really bought a lemon this time," she said angrily. Richard defended himself. "How was I supposed to know? The dealer pulled the wool over my eyes." The fights became more frequent. John hated hearing them, but he also felt helpless. One night, Richard shouted, "Stop airing our dirty laundry in front of the kids." But the children had already seen too much. At school, John wasn't himself. His best friend asked him to join the soccer team. "Sorry," John muttered. "I've got a big task on my hands." His grades were slipping, and his teacher warned, "You need to get your ducks in a row." John felt trapped. At home, his father told him to shape up or ship out. At school, his teachers said he was falling behind. Even his friends noticed. One of them teased, "Man, you're always serious these days. Don't be such an oddball." The pressure built up. One evening, when Emily asked him for help with homework, John snapped. "Not now. You're driving me bananas." Emily's eyes welled up with tears. "You didn't used to be like this," she whispered. John lay awake that night, ashamed. He remembered when their family laughed together, when his father used to be a barrel of laughs. But those days felt gone. Things got worse when Richard stormed into the house after another failed job interview. "They said I wasn't up to par." He threw his briefcase down. "I swear it's a no-win situation." His mother tried to comfort him, but Richard pushed her away. "Don't stick your nose in my failures." Emily, trying to break the tension, whispered to John, "Remember when Dad was fit as a fiddle?" John nodded, but said nothing. Then came the breaking point. Richard accused his wife of being a penny pincher when she refused to let him borrow money for a new business idea. She shot back, "At least I don't pass the buck every time things go wrong." The fight escalated until Emily burst out crying. John pulled her into his room. "It'll be okay," he said, though his voice shook. Inside, he wondered if their family had reached the end of the road. But Emily looked up with determination. "Families fight, but they don't quit. Remember, Dad always said we're like peas in a pod." John forced a smile. He wanted to believe her, but deep down, he wondered if the cracks in their family could ever be healed. Part 2. Storms at Home. The days grew heavier, and the silence at the dinner table was unbearable. Richard barely spoke, and when he did, his words were sharp. One evening, when John tried to tell him about a school project, Richard dismissed him. "Stop beating around the bush and get to the point." John clenched his fists. He felt like whatever he said, his father would find fault. His mother tried to change the subject, but Richard barked, "Don't poke your nose into everything, Margaret." Emily muttered, "This is getting over the top." But nobody listened. The next day, John came home late, only to find his parents in another heated argument. His father was furious about a neighbor who had, in his words, queered the pitch for me at the interview by spreading lies. His mother sighed. "Maybe it's just out of left field, Richard. Not everything is a conspiracy." Richard slammed his hand on the table. "Don't tell me how I should feel." That night, John lay awake, heart pounding. His father's temper was getting worse, like a Jekyll and Hyde, unpredictable and frightening. One moment calm, the next a storm. At school, John's teacher told him he was close to failing. "You're close, but no cigar," she said. "Almost passing, but not quite." He wanted to cry. Everything felt like a no-win situation. Even his friends noticed his distant mood. One said, "Cheer up, man. Let's go shoot some hoops." But John shook his head. "I've got a big task on my hands at home." His friends went without him. He felt left out, as if happiness itself was up for grabs, but not for him. One Friday night, his father returned home smelling of alcohol. "Why not make hay while the sun shines?" he slurred. "I found a business partner. It's a quid pro quo deal. He helps me, I help him." His mother's face hardened. "Richard, you're being green with envy over other men's success. You're chasing dreams that don't exist." Richard exploded. "You always take the wind out of my sails. I'm trying, Margaret, I'm trying." Emily began to cry again, and John pulled her aside. "Mom's right," John whispered. "Dad's ideas are just a passing fancy. He can't see it." But deep inside, John longed for his father's strength to return, for the man who once was his hero. The following week, Richard promised to fix things. "I'll pull this family together. I'll pull out all the stops." But his promises felt hollow. He had already cried wolf too many times. Things came to a head when John, tired of everything, confronted his father. "Stop pretending. You're just all bark and no bite. You talk, but nothing changes." Richard's face went pale, then red. "How dare you, boy!" he roared. His mother tried to calm them, but it was too late. Richard shouted, "If you think I'm failing, maybe I should just pull the plug on everything." Silence fell. Emily gasped, "Don't say that." The next morning, Richard was gone. His phone was off, his car missing. For 2 days, he was nowhere to be found. When he finally returned, he looked tired and broken. "I just needed a cat nap," he joked bitterly, but no one laughed. Margaret stood firm. "You can't keep running, Richard. You've got to face this. You can't keep jumping the gun, rushing into plans without thinking." He didn't answer. He sat down, head in his hands, looking like the fight had left him. John felt his anger mixing with pity. For the first time, he saw his father not as a monster, but as a man on the verge of collapse. Part 3. Breaking Point. The following weeks felt like walking on eggshells. Richard tried to act normal, but tension still hung in the air. Margaret urged him to see a doctor. The doctor eventually gave him a clean bill of health, but his spirit was far from healed. At the dinner table, Emily whispered, "Maybe things will be right as rain again." Richard smiled faintly, but John wasn't convinced. One Saturday, the family gathered for lunch. Richard announced he had another idea for business. "This time it's different. I've got an ace in the hole, a partner with connections." John groaned. "Dad, it sounds like another flash in the pan." Richard's eyes narrowed. "You think you're so smart? Don't forget, boy, you still have to shape up or ship out at school. Margaret stepped in. Richard, stop. He doesn't need more pressure. But John couldn't hold back anymore. You're supposed to be the father. Stop making us jump through hoops for your approval. Richard's face turned red. Watch your mouth. Emily cried, Stop fighting. You're both acting mad as hatters. The house shook with silence after her words. Later that night, Margaret found Richard in the living room. You're pushing them away, she said. If you keep this up, it'll be the end of the road for us. Richard rubbed his face. I just don't know how to fix it. Every move I make feels like easier said than done. Margaret's voice softened. Then start small. No more secrets, no more under-wraps plans. Just honesty. Meanwhile, John was struggling too. His teacher warned him again. You're still not up to snuff. Frustrated, John went to the park to clear his head. There he ran into his best friend, David, who greeted him like a sight for sore eyes. They sat on a bench, and for the first time in weeks, John allowed himself to shoot the breeze. David laughed at silly things, told jokes, and reminded John what it was like to smile. You know, your dad's not the only one with problems. Join the club, David said. John chuckled. Maybe he wasn't as alone as he thought. At home, things slowly began to shift. Richard started helping with small chores. He even joked with Emily, calling her a gem of a person when she surprised him with a drawing. One evening, he dimmed the living room lights. Let's just talk, he said softly. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Still, old habits died hard. Richard sometimes acted like a Jekyll and Hyde, gentle one moment, exploding the next. Margaret warned him, If you keep that up, I'll have a bone to pick with you. But then came an unexpected change. Richard's old friend Martin visited. I hear you're struggling, Martin said. Why not let me help? I'll sweeten the pot. Invest a little money, if you're serious this time. Richard hesitated, then glanced at his family. For once, he didn't make promises. He only said, I'll think about it. John watched him carefully. Was this another disaster waiting to happen? Or the start of something real? Part 4. Mending the Cracks. Richard sat in silence after Martin left, staring at his hands. For the first time, he wasn't making excuses or grand promises. John, watching from the doorway, thought his father looked older, weaker. But maybe that was honesty showing through. The next morning, Richard knocked on John's bedroom door. Come on, son, shake a leg. Let's take a walk. They walked in silence until Richard finally spoke. I know I've been hard on you. I've been on my high horse too often, pretending I knew best. John swallowed. You've also been making us eat our hearts out, watching other families happy while we fall apart. Richard nodded. I know. And it's no skin off my nose to admit I was wrong. I've been foolish. They stopped by the park bench. Richard sighed. When I lost my job, I felt like I wasn't in the same league as other men anymore. I let pride ruin everything. For the first time, John heard truth, not defense. He whispered, Dad, I thought we'd reached the end of the road. Richard put a hand on his shoulder. Maybe not. Maybe this is just the rough part. Remember, a cat has 9 lives. I've made mistakes, but I want another chance. At home, Margaret noticed the change. Richard began listening more, speaking less. When he disagreed, he no longer tried to drive a hard bargain, but instead asked gently. Emily beamed. You're like a diamond in the rough, Dad. You just needed polishing. They laughed together, something they hadn't done in months. A week later, Richard gathered them all. I turned down Martin's offer. It was another risk I wasn't ready for. But I did find steady work. It's not glamorous, but it'll keep us afloat. Margaret smiled. Sometimes stability is better than chasing dreams. You don't always have to punch above your weight. John added, "Yeah, Dad. We'd rather have you here with us than chasing another flash-in-the-pan idea." For once, Richard agreed. From then on, the family worked together. Margaret still watched the budget, but she wasn't just a penny pincher. She was the anchor. John studied harder, determined to prove he could make it. Emily brought laughter back, being the family's little cool cat. And Richard? He learned to admit when he was wrong, to laugh at himself, and to cherish his family. He knew now that love wasn't about grand gestures. It was about being present, every single day. Months later, on a quiet evening, they sat together in the living room. The house wasn't perfect, but it was full of warmth again. Richard raised his glass of water. "To us. We've been through storms, but we survived. We gave it the whole 9 yards. Margaret added, "And we learned that family means never sitting on the fence when it comes to love." John smiled. "It's true. We fought, we struggled, but we stayed together. Maybe this really was the third time's the charm." Emily giggled. "Last but not least," she said dramatically, "I'm glad we're back to being like peas in a pod again." They all laughed, and for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel forced. The lights glowed softly, the air was warm, and John thought to himself, maybe families break, maybe they quarrel, maybe they even lose their way. But when they fight to find each other again, when they refuse to give up, the ending can still be happy. And that night, as they hugged and said goodnight, he finally believed it.
Now that you've experienced these idioms in the context of John's family story, let's take a closer look at each expression. Understanding how these idioms work will help you use them confidently in your own conversations. We'll go through each idiom one by one, exploring their meanings, origins, and how to use them naturally in everyday English. Let's begin. Number 1. Rise and shine. This cheerful expression means to wake up and start the day with energy and enthusiasm. For example, "Come on, rise and shine, or you'll be late for school." This is typically said in the morning, often by parents trying to wake up their children, or by anyone encouraging someone to get out of bed. The word rise means to get up, and shine suggests being bright and energetic, like the sun. It's a positive, upbeat way to greet the morning. Number 2, let one's hair down. This idiom means to relax and have fun, to stop being formal or serious and just enjoy yourself. For example, after exams, the students went out to let their hair down. The origin of this phrase comes from a time when women would wear their hair up in formal styles during the day, but would let it down when they were at home and could relax. Today, it means to drop your guard, be yourself, and have a good time without worrying about being proper or professional. Number 3, all bark and no bite. This describes someone who talks tough, makes threats, or sounds aggressive, but doesn't actually follow through with any real action. For example, don't be scared of the boss. He's all bark and no bite. Think of a dog that barks loudly and sounds fierce, but wouldn't actually hurt anyone. That's exactly what this idiom means. The person might sound intimidating, but there's no real danger or consequence. They're all talk and no action. Number 4, buy a lemon. To buy a lemon means to purchase something, especially a vehicle, that turns out to be defective or constantly breaks down. For example, he bought a lemon of a car. It broke down in a week. This idiom most commonly refers to cars that have hidden problems and require constant repairs. The sour taste of a lemon represents the bad experience of getting stuck with a faulty product. If someone says they bought a lemon, they're expressing disappointment and frustration with their purchase. Number 5. Pull the wool over someone's eyes. This means to trick, deceive, or fool someone, preventing them from seeing or understanding the truth. For example, the salesman pulled the wool over her eyes with false promises. The image here is of literally pulling wool over someone's eyes so they can't see what's really happening. It suggests deliberate deception where someone is being manipulated or misled. This idiom is used when someone has been tricked or when you want to warn someone not to be fooled. Number 6. Air one's dirty laundry. This means to reveal private problems, conflicts, or embarrassing personal issues in public. For example, they always air their dirty laundry on social media. Dirty laundry represents private, embarrassing matters that should be kept confidential. Just as you wouldn't hang your dirty clothes outside for everyone to see, you shouldn't share private family or personal problems publicly. This idiom is often used when people complain about others who overshare their personal drama. Number 7. Big task on one's hands. This means to have an important or difficult responsibility that requires significant effort. For example, the teacher has a big task on her hands with 40 noisy students. When something is on your hands, it's your responsibility to deal with. A big task emphasizes that it's challenging, time-consuming, or difficult. This idiom is used when someone faces a substantial challenge that will require serious work and dedication. Number 8. Get one's ducks in a row. This means to get organized, prepared, and have everything properly arranged before starting something. For example, she needs to get her ducks in a row before starting the new project. The image comes from the way ducklings follow their mother in a neat, orderly line. When your ducks are in a row, everything is organized and ready to go. This is often used in business or when planning something important. You need to have all the details sorted out and everything in proper order. Number 9. Shape up or ship out. This is a direct warning that means improve your behavior or performance, or leave. For example, the coach told the players to shape up or ship out. Shape up means to improve or correct your behavior, while ship out means to leave or be sent away. This is a serious ultimatum. You either make changes and meet expectations, or you'll be asked to leave. It's commonly used by bosses, coaches, or anyone in authority when someone's performance is unacceptable. Number 10. Oddball. This describes a strange, unusual, or eccentric person who doesn't quite fit in with the norm. For example, he's an oddball, but everyone likes his unique ideas. While this can sometimes be used negatively, it's often affectionate or neutral, describing someone who's quirky or different in an interesting way. An oddball is someone who stands out from the crowd because of their unusual behavior, interests, or personality. They're not like everyone else. Number 11. Drive one bananas. This means to make someone feel crazy, extremely frustrated, or annoyed. For example, that loud music is driving me bananas. When something drives you bananas, it's so irritating or overwhelming that it makes you feel like you're going insane. The word bananas here is slang for crazy. This is a colorful way to express extreme annoyance or frustration with a situation or person. Number 12. Barrel of laughs. This describes someone or something that is very funny, entertaining, and enjoyable. For example, the comedy show was a barrel of laughs. A barrel is a large container, so a barrel of laughs suggests an abundance of humor and fun. This idiom is used to describe people who are naturally funny or events that are highly entertaining. Sometimes it's used sarcastically to describe something that's actually not fun at all. Number 13. Up to par. This means meeting the required or expected standard of quality or performance. For example, her work wasn't up to par, so the manager asked her to redo it. Par comes from golf, where it refers to the standard number of strokes expected for a hole. If something is up to par, it meets expectations. If it's not up to par, it's below standard and needs improvement. This is commonly used in professional settings to discuss quality and performance. Number 14. No-win situation. This describes a situation where there's no possibility of a good outcome, no matter what you do. For example, arguing with him is a no-win situation. In a no-win situation, all possible choices lead to negative results. You you're trapped between bad options and there's no way to come out ahead. This idiom expresses frustration about being stuck in an impossible position where success isn't possible. Number 15. Stick one's nose in. This means to interfere in someone else's business or affairs where you're not wanted or needed. For example, don't stick your nose in my private business. The image is of someone literally pushing their nose into a situation that doesn't concern them. It's used when someone is being nosy, intrusive, or meddling in matters that aren't their concern. This idiom usually carries a negative tone and suggests that the interference is unwelcome. Number 16. Fit as a fiddle. This means to be in excellent health and physical condition. For example, Grandma is 80 but still fit as a fiddle. A fiddle needs to be in perfect condition to produce beautiful music. When someone is fit as a fiddle, they're healthy, energetic, and in great shape. This idiom is often used to describe someone, especially an older person, who is surprisingly healthy and active. Number 17. Penny pincher. This describes a person who is extremely careful with money, oft to the point of being cheap or stingy. For example, he's such a penny pincher. He won't even buy coffee. A penny pincher tries to save every penny, even the smallest amounts. While being frugal can be positive, this term often has a negative connotation, suggesting someone who is unwilling to spend money even when it's reasonable or necessary. They pinch every penny tightly, reluctant to let it go. Number 18. Pass the buck. This means to shift responsibility or blame to someone else instead of accepting it yourself. For example, stop passing the buck and admit your mistake. The buck in this idiom refers to a marker used in poker games to indicate whose turn it was to deal. Passing the buck means passing the responsibility to someone else. This idiom is used when someone refuses to take responsibility and tries to blame others instead. Number 19. End of the road. This means the conclusion or final point of something, when there's nowhere left to go. For example, when the company closed, it was the end of the road for many workers. This idiom comes from the literal image of reaching the end of a road where you can't travel any further. It's used when something has reached its final stage, when a situation is over, or when there are no more options left. It often implies that something has finished, sometimes sadly or disappointingly. Number 20. Peas in a pod. This describes two or more people who are very similar or extremely close to each other. For example, the twins are like peas in a pod. Peas in a pod are identical, sitting side by side in a tight space. When people are like peas in a pod, they share similar characteristics, interests, or personalities, or they're inseparable friends or family members. It's a warm, affectionate way to describe people who are very much alike or very close. Number 21. Beat around the bush. This means to avoid talking about the main point, to be indirect or evasive. For example, stop beating around the bush and tell me the truth. The image comes from hunting, where people would beat the bush to flush out game birds, circling around instead of going directly to the target. When someone beats around the bush, they're talking about everything except the main issue. This idiom expresses frustration with someone who won't get to the point. Number 22. Poke one's nose into. This means to intrude into or interfere with other people's affairs uninvited. For example, he always pokes his nose into other people's affairs. Similar to stick one's nose in, this idiom describes someone who is nosy or meddlesome. The image of poking your nose into something suggests actively and deliberately intruding where you don't belong. It's used to criticize people who can't mind their own business. Number 23. Over the top. This means excessive, exaggerated, or beyond what is normal or appropriate. For example, his reaction to the joke was way over the top. Originally a military term from World War I, meaning to go over the top of the trench and into battle, it now describes anything that's extreme or excessive. When something is over the top, it's more dramatic, expensive, emotional, or elaborate than necessary. It can be positive or negative depending on context. Number 24. Queer the pitch. This British idiom means to spoil, ruin, or interfere with something, especially someone's plans or chances of success. For example, his careless words queered the pitch for our deal. The pitch here refers to the playing field in cricket or other sports. To queer the pitch means to make it unsuitable for play, thus ruining the game. In modern usage, it means to mess up a situation or opportunity, often through careless actions or words. Number 25, out of left field. This means something unexpected, unusual, or surprising that seems to come from nowhere. For example, her question came out of left field and surprised everyone. This idiom comes from baseball, where left field is far from most of the action. Something coming out of left field is unexpected and catches everyone off guard. It's used when someone says or does something that seems random or completely unrelated to the current situation. Number 26. Jekyll and Hyde. This describes someone who has two very different sides to their personality, often switching between being nice and being mean or dangerous. For example, he's nice at work but a Jekyll and Hyde at home. This idiom comes from the famous novel, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where the main character has a good side, Dr. Jekyll, and an evil side, Mr. Hyde. It's used to describe people whose behavior is unpredictable or who act very differently in different situations. Number 27. Close but no cigar. This means almost successful, but ultimately failing to achieve the goal. For example, he was close but no cigar in winning the contest. This phrase comes from old carnival games where cigars were given as prizes. If you almost won but didn't quite succeed, you were close, but no cigar, you didn't get the prize. It's used when someone makes a good effort but falls just short of success. Number 28. Up for grabs. This means available to be taken or won by anyone who wants it. For example, the last concert ticket is still up for grabs. When something is up for grabs, it's there for the taking. Whoever acts first or wins the competition gets it. This idiom suggests that something desirable is available, but you need to act quickly because others might want it too. It's commonly used for opportunities, prizes, or available items. Number 29. Make hay while the sun shines. This means to take advantage of a good opportunity while it lasts. To act while conditions are favorable. For example, you should make hay while the sun shines and sell your house now. This agricultural idiom comes from farming, where hay must be cut and dried during sunny weather. If you wait too long, rain could ruin it. The lesson is to seize opportunities when they arise because they might not last. It's about being proactive and not procrastinating when conditions are good. Number 30. Quid pro quo. This Latin phrase means something given in return for something else. An exchange of goods or services. For example, he offered his help as a quid pro quo for future support. Literally translated as something for something, quid pro quo, describes a mutual exchange or favor for favor arrangement. In business and politics, it often describes deals where both parties give and receive something of value. It can be neutral or negative, depending on whether the exchange is fair and ethical. Number 31. Green with envy. This means to be very jealous of someone or something they have. For example, she was green with envy when she saw his new car. The color green has long been associated with envy and jealousy. When someone is green with envy, they're so jealous that you can almost see it on their face. This vivid idiom describes intense feelings of wanting what someone else has, whether it's possessions, success, or relationships. Number 32. Take the wind out of one's sails. This means to suddenly discourage someone, to deflate their enthusiasm or confidence. For example, his criticism really took the wind out of her sails. The image comes from sailing where wind is needed to move the ship forward. If the wind suddenly stops, the ship can't move. Similarly, when someone takes the wind out of your sails, they say or do something that deflates your confidence or enthusiasm, leaving you feeling discouraged or defeated. Number 33. Passing fancy. This means a temporary interest or enthusiasm that doesn't last long. For example, his love for painting was just a passing fancy. A fancy is a whim or temporary desire. When something is described as a passing fancy, it means the interest or enthusiasm will fade quickly. It's not a serious long-term commitment, but rather a brief phase or momentary attraction. This idiom often carries a slightly dismissive tone. Number 34, pull out all the stops. This means to make every possible effort, to use all available resources to achieve something. For example, they pulled out all the stops for their wedding ceremony. This idiom comes from pipe organs, which have stops that control which pipes produce sound. Pulling out all the stops makes the organ produce its fullest, richest sound. Similarly, pulling out all the stops in life means using every resource and making maximum effort to achieve the best possible result. Number 35, cry wolf. This means to raise a false alarm to call for help when there's no real danger. For example, if you cry wolf too often, no one will believe you. This idiom comes from Aesop's fable about a shepherd boy who repeatedly tricks villagers by falsely claiming a wolf is attacking his sheep. When a wolf actually appears, no one believes him. The moral is that if you lie or exaggerate problems repeatedly, people will stop taking you seriously when there's a real emergency. Number 36. Pull the plug. This means to stop or cancel something, often abruptly, or to end life support for someone who is terminally ill. For example, they pulled the plug on the project due to costs. The literal image is of unplugging an electrical device to stop it from working. In business and everyday life, pulling the plug means deciding to end something, often because it's not working out or is too expensive. In medical contexts, it refers to the difficult decision to end life-sustaining treatment. Number 37. Nowhere to be found. This means something or someone cannot be located anywhere, has completely disappeared. For example, my phone is nowhere to be found. This idiom emphasizes that despite searching, something is completely missing and can't be located. It's often used when expressing frustration about losing something important or when someone has vanished without explanation. The phrase emphasizes the completeness of the absence, literally nowhere. Number 38. Cat nap. This means a short sleep during the day, a brief rest period. For example, I took a quick cat nap after lunch. Cats are famous for taking frequent short naps throughout the day. A cat nap is a brief period of sleep, usually 15 to 30 minutes, that helps refresh and recharge you without going into deep sleep. It's a power nap that gives you energy to continue your day. Number 39. Jump the gun. This means to do something too soon before the proper or right time. For example, you proposed after 1 week definitely jumping the gun. This idiom comes from track and field races, where runners who start before the starting gun are disqualified. When you jump the gun in life, you act prematurely, before you have enough information or before the appropriate time. It often leads to mistakes or problems because of the hasty timing. Number 40. Clean bill of health. This means a report or confirmation that someone is healthy and has no medical problems. For example, the doctor gave him a clean bill of health. Originally, a bill of health was a certificate given to ships showing they were free from infection and could enter port. Today, it's used when a doctor confirms that someone is in good health with no diseases or conditions. It can also be used metaphorically for anything that passes inspection or evaluation. Number 41. Right as rain. This means perfectly fine, in good health, or working properly. For example, after resting, she felt right as rain again. The exact origin is unclear, but right means correct or good, and rain is natural and beneficial. Together, they suggest that something is exactly as it should be. This cheerful idiom is often used when someone has recovered from illness or when something has been fixed and is working perfectly again. Number 42. Ace in the hole. This means a hidden advantage or secret resource that can be used when needed. For example, her language skills were her ace in the hole at the interview. This poker term refers to an ace that's dealt face down and hidden from other players. In life, an ace in the hole is a secret strength, skill, or resource that gives you an advantage over others. It's something you keep hidden until the right moment to use it for maximum effect. Number 43. Flash in the pan. This means something that shows initial success or promise but fails to last or have lasting impact. For example, his business idea was just a flash in the pan. This idiom comes from old flintlock guns, where sometimes the gunpowder in the pan would flash but fail to ignite the main charge, producing light but no real shot. A flash in the pan is brief, impressive-looking success that quickly fades away without achieving anything lasting or significant. Number 44, jump through hoops. This means to go through a lot of effort or overcome many obstacles to achieve something. For example, she had to jump through hoops to get the visa. The image comes from circus animals being trained to jump through hoops as tricks. When you have to jump through hoops, you're forced to do many difficult or annoying tasks, often dealing with bureaucracy or complicated requirements, just to accomplish your goal. It suggests the process is unnecessarily complicated. Number 45. Mad as a hatter. This means completely crazy or insane. For example, that man's mad as a hatter, talking to himself all day. This idiom comes from the 19th century hat-making industry, where mercury was used in the process. Hatters often suffered mercury poisoning, which caused tremors, mood swings, and erratic behavior. The phrase was popularized by the Mad Hatter character in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Today, it describes anyone acting irrationally or bizarrely. Number 46. Under wraps. This means kept secret or hidden from public knowledge. For example, the new project is still under wraps. The image is of something covered or wrapped up so it can't be seen. When something is under wraps, it's being kept confidential. The details haven't been revealed yet. This is commonly used in business for products or projects that are in development, but haven't been announced publicly. Number 47. Not up to snuff. This means not good enough, below the required or expected standard. For example, her work was not up to snuff, so it was rejected. Snuff was powdered tobacco that people would sniff. Up to snuff originally meant being sharp and alert. Today, when something is not up to snuff, it means it doesn't meet expectations or quality standards. It's below par, inadequate, or unsatisfactory. Number 48. Sight for sore eyes. This means someone or something that is very pleasant, welcome, or wonderful to see. For example, after weeks abroad, she was a sight for sore eyes. When your eyes are sore or tired, seeing something beautiful brings relief and joy. This warm, affectionate idiom describes seeing someone you've missed or something you're very happy to see. It expresses joy and relief at the sight of someone or something welcome. Number 49. Shoot the breeze. This means to chat casually about unimportant things, to have a relaxed, informal conversation. For example, we sat on the porch, shooting the breeze all evening. Breeze represents light, easy conversation, and shooting, it means engaging in this casual talk. This idiom describes friendly, aimless chatting without any serious purpose, just enjoying conversation for its own sake. It's the kind of relaxed talking friends do when they're comfortable with each other. Number 50. Join the club. This is a sympathetic or sarcastic way of saying, I'm in the same situation or many others feel the same way. For example, you're tired? Join the club, we all are. When someone complains about a common problem or shares a common experience, saying, join the club, acknowledges that they're not alone, many people share that same issue. It can be sympathetic and comforting, or sometimes sarcastic, suggesting their problem isn't unique or special. Number 51. Gem of a person. This means someone who is very special, kind, valuable, or wonderful. For example, she's a gem of a person, always helping others. A gem is a precious stone, valuable and beautiful. Calling someone a gem of a person means they have rare, wonderful qualities that make them special and valuable. It's a high compliment that emphasizes someone's kindness, reliability, or other admirable characteristics. They're a treasure. Number 52. Bone to pick. This means having a complaint or problem to discuss with someone, often an issue that has caused frustration. For example, I have a bone to pick with you about yesterday. The image may come from dogs fighting over a bone. When you have a bone to pick with someone, you need to confront them about something they did that bothered you. It signals that a difficult conversation is coming, usually about a grievance or disagreement that needs to be addressed. Number 53. Sweeten the pot. This means to make an offer or deal more attractive by adding something extra. For example, he sweetened the pot by adding a bonus. In poker, the pot is the money being bet. Sweetening, it means adding more money to make it more appealing. In general use, it means making any offer more attractive by adding benefits, money, or other incentives to convince someone to accept. It's used in negotiations, sales, and any situation involving persuasion. Number 54. Shake a leg. This is an informal way to tell someone to hurry up or get moving. For example, shake a leg or we'll miss the train. The exact origin is debated, but it suggests movement and action. When you tell someone to shake a leg, you're urging them to move faster, to get going, or to start doing something. It's a casual, slightly playful way to encourage speed and action. Number 55. On your high horse. This means acting superior, arrogant, or looking down on others. For example, he's always on his high horse, telling people what to do. The image comes from medieval times when important people rode tall horses, looking down on common people below. When someone is on their high horse, they're acting like they're better than everyone else, often being condescending or pompous. It's a criticism of arrogant behavior. Number 56. Eat your heart out. This is a playful or boastful way of saying be jealous or I'm better than you at this. For example, eat your heart out, my team won again. Originally, this phrase meant to suffer from envy or longing. Today, it's often used teasingly to boast about your success, suggesting that others should be jealous. It's usually said in a lighthearted, competitive way rather than being genuinely mean-spirited. Number 57. No skin off my nose. This means something doesn't affect me. I don't care, or it's not my problem. For example, it's no skin off my nose if you're late. The image suggests that if something doesn't hurt you or take skin off your nose, then it doesn't impact you. This idiom expresses indifference. Whatever happens doesn't matter to you personally. It can sound dismissive or simply indicate that you're not affected by someone else's choice or problem. Number 58. Not in the same league. This means not as good, capable, or skilled as someone else. For example, she's not in the same league as the top runners. Sports leagues are organized by skill level, with the best players in the highest leagues. When someone is not in the same league, there's a significant gap in ability or quality. They can't compete at that level. This idiom makes clear comparisons about relative skill or quality. Number 59. A cat has 9 lives. This means that cats, or some people, seem to escape danger repeatedly or have remarkable luck in surviving difficult situations. For example, he's had so many accidents, like a cat with 9 lives. This ancient belief that cats have multiple lives comes from their ability to survive falls and escape danger. When someone is said to have 9 lives like a cat, they've survived multiple dangerous situations or close calls. It suggests remarkable luck or resilience in the face of danger. Number 60. Diamond in the rough. This means someone with hidden talent or potential who hasn't been refined or trained yet. For example, he's a diamond in the rough, but with training, he'll shine. A diamond in its natural state looks like an ordinary rock. It requires cutting and polishing to reveal its brilliance. Similarly, a person who is a diamond in the rough has genuine talent or good qualities, but they need development, training, or refinement to fully shine. It's an optimistic idiom recognizing potential. Number 61. Punch above your weight. This means to achieve success beyond what would be normally expected, to compete successfully against stronger opponents. For example, that small company is punching above its weight in the market. In boxing, fighters are matched by weight class to ensure fair competition. To punch above your weight means to succeed against bigger, stronger, or more powerful competitors. It's a compliment suggesting that someone or something is overachieving despite being at a disadvantage. Number 62. Cool cat. This somewhat dated slang describes a person who is calm, confident, collected, and admired by others. For example, he's such a cool cat, never loses his temper. This idiom, particularly popular in the 1950s and 60s, describes someone who's effortlessly cool, composed, and in control. They don't get flustered or upset easily. They have an air of confidence and style. While less common today, it still conveys admiration for someone's calm, confident demeanor. Number 63, the whole 9 yards. This means everything possible, the complete amount, going all the way. For example, they went the whole 9 yards for their anniversary party. The origin of this phrase is disputed. Theories range from military ammunition belts to concrete trucks. Regardless of origin, the whole 9 yards means doing something completely, thoroughly, holding nothing back. It means giving maximum effort or including everything possible without cutting corners. Number 64. Sit on the fence. This means to avoid making a decision or taking sides, to remain neutral when a choice needs to be made. For example, he's still sitting on the fence about the job offer. The image is of someone sitting on a fence between two sides, unable or unwilling to commit to either. Fence sitting suggests indecision or unwillingness to take a position. While neutrality can sometimes be wise, this idiom often criticizes people who avoid making necessary decisions. Number 65. Third time's the charm. This optimistic saying means that after 2 failures, the third attempt will succeed. For example, she failed twice, but third time's the charm. This expression reflects the belief that 3 is a lucky or magical number. After trying and failing twice, people say third time's the charm to express hope and encouragement that this attempt will work. It's used to maintain optimism and motivation after previous disappointments. Number 66. Last but not least. This phrase emphasizes that although something or someone is mentioned last, they are still important. For example, last but not least, I want to thank my parents. When listing people or things, the last item might seem less important simply because it comes at the end. This phrase corrects that impression, emphasizing that position on the list doesn't reflect importance. It's commonly used in speeches, presentations, and acknowledgments to give proper respect to the final item.
Thank you for listening to Idioms Through Stories, Part 9. I hope today's story helped you understand how idioms are used in real life, not just as vocabulary, but as expressions with feeling and meaning. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your favorite idiom from today's episode in the comments. You can also explore all the previous episodes in the playlist to continue learning idioms through fun, emotional, and memorable stories. Your support helps this series continue and motivates me to create even more stories for you. See you in Part 10 with even more English examples, more stories, and more idioms to master. Thanks for watching, and keep learning English one story at a time.